Alright, so welcome back again, and this is the Chipmaster again and again and again. So I'm here to do another repair on a HP. I got it as is, like this, from the tech, and he said that it had a liquid spill inside, and after cleaning it up it turns on, and said it turns off, something like that he said. I'm not sure, but he said that it's turning on and off. So he gave it to me to see if I can repair it. So as I said before, it's a HP 14 series. These are the budget laptops in my country. Alright, low-end computers, which is an Intel Atom Gemini Lake inside. Right, and I think it's a Celeron CPU. As you see, there's no fan. Right, just the heatsink. So I'm going to see if I can repair this. Alright, so I'm going to plug in the charger now. So let's go over to the overhead camera. Alright, so I'm going to plug in the power. Right, here it is. And see what the current is showing me on this thing, and what's the behavior and the issues going on. So let me take out the board first. It's already disassembled. I see some melting point here, like some soldering has been taking place here already. As I said before, it was given to me by a tech. He already attempted by cleaning the liquid or something, he said, and after cleaning it, it's turning on and then off. Alright, so let me get a DC jack. Okay, so I have the DC jack now. So plugging it inside of the connector here. Alright, so let's take a look at the current on the DC power supply. Alright, so I get white lights. Wait, it's gone? Oh, there it is. So I get the white light. And let me connect the switch. Need the power switch. Alright, so the switch is in. So I'll give power now. Alright, so I'm going to press the switch now. Wow, you see that? The light at the side here powers on and off instantly. Let's see if we can trigger again. And it cannot be, oh, it can be triggered. And it is triggering, and it goes to 60 milliamp, as you can see on the DC power supply. Right, so it trigger and it turns off. Triggers, turns off. So this is called a trigger protection event. It could be a short circuit on the rear stage, right? So this is called a trigger protection event, right? So once you can repeatedly press the switch and it can turn on, right? That could be a motherboard protection, or it could be an adapter protection, right? As you can see, the light is also flashing there each time. Right, I see the LED light amber. All right, so based on my experience, this is called a trigger protection event, and it's a protection of the motherboard. Right, it seems like it's sensing a short on the secondary supply line, right? So I'm pressing again. As you can see, the light is there and it goes away, and the current is roughly, it fluctuates. So I get 120 milliamp a while ago. I press again, 120 milliamp, 120 milliamp, 110 milliamp, 120 milliamp, and powers off. All right, so I'm going to remove the heatsink. These are not the correct screws either. These are supposed to be some wider screws. All right, so this is a Gemini Lake, as you can see. And the board number, as you can see, which is DA0, right, P9KMB 6C1 revision C, yeah. And let me see what kind of CPU is this. It's an Atom CPU. All right, so the CPU is, there's a SR3S1, I believe. Yes, so as you can see there, it's SR3S1. Trying to remove that glue there. All right, so it's SR3S1, and this is a Celeron, right? This is a Celeron Atom Gemini Lake CPU. All right, so it's an Atom series of the Intel, which is the low powered, right? And it's a Celeron. So at the same time, I'm just going to inspect. Oh, he already replaces the EC. The EC is replaced, as you can see. I see some flux mark there, as you can see. The EC has been soldered. The EC has been soldered. Maybe liquid got in there and he lift the EC and soldered the EC. So this is a second-hand repair then. So this is a second-hand repair. So somebody was there before. So let me see on the back side. I'm just checking to see, because he said that it was liquid damage after cleaning. But he didn't tell me that he soldered on the board. He didn't tell me that he tampered with the board. So he was trying something. All right, so there's no liquid intake on this side, all is well. On this side of the board. All is well. So I don't see any liquid intake. All right, so I'm going to check all coils. Checking all coils now for any abnormalities. All right, so here we go. Oh, what the hell? He also lifted a coil here. Let me go under the microscope. What the hell? What's going on? Okay, so under the microscope now, as you can see, this coil is disconnected. So he lifted this coil, maybe since that it had a short. This is one, as you can see, the chip here is APW870806, and this is a 1.0 standby voltage rail for the CPU. Right, this is normally used for 1.8 or 1.0 volts. Right, so this board is able to output adjustable voltage based on the feedback. Right, so the feedback resistors are here. Right, so this can output 1.8, it can output 1.0 volts. Right, so read the data sheet, so you can go on the web and find out the information about this one, APW8706. Right, so this coil is lifted. And I was surprised that he didn't solder back this coil. Maybe he forgot. Yeah. So this seems like going to be interesting. Let's look at the EC legs here, as you can see. Right. There's a lot of tampering there. Right, the soldering is not neat. He's not using drag solder here, as you can see. He's doing like a point to point with the soldering iron by going around to each pin instead of dragging, and that can give a very tacky soldering result, but it should work. So I'm just examining the legs here. As you can see, there's a lot of soldering here. All right, and the flux, the bias is also removed. As you can see, the bias is flashed. Right, you can see flux around the BIOS, so you already programmed the BIOS. Oh boy, this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to see what I can do. So I'm going to clean up the flux and solder back this coil. Where is that alcohol? Yeah. Alright, so I'm just cleaning around the EC area here. So normally I charge more for the attempt fee, because when they go into the board and they do all kinds of crazy stuff on the board, it gives me more work because they don't know what they're doing. So I normally charge extra fee for the attempt or for tampering with the board, because I have to correct all the mistakes that they make and then do the actual repair, which is going to give me more work by experimenting with the board. Alright, so I'm just finished cleaning up around the BIOS area here. BIOS chip, the EC is now clean. Let me check the resistance on this pin, on this coil for the 1.0 volt rail, because it's lifted, so indicate that he's sensing a short there. Yes, and as you can see, it's a short. So the CPU, so our Atom CPU is shorted. So he didn't tell me that he was attempting the board. He didn't tell me what was the results that he observed while attempting to repair the board. He just gave it to me and said that it was liquid damage. After the liquid damage, he cleaned the board. That's all he told me, and it turns on and then off. So it's a short here, as you can see. Oh god. Let me check the entire area of the board. Okay, so we're gonna check the entire board supply resistances. So this is 3 volts. That's good. 360. Oh, let me turn off one of the lights. Not needed at the moment. All right, so here we go. All right, so this is 360, 3 volts. That's good. 5 volts. Also good. 362. All right. Oh, I want to zoom. All right, so 362 for the 5 volt section there. 364. We have charger section. 530, that's okay. We already found the short here on 1.0 rail. And we have here the CPU core supply. That's good. Right, and this is for the RAM. We have a short here. And this coil, that's good. That's good. 5 volts USB supply. Alright, that's good. 1.2 volts for the RAM section is shorted. Alright. And this is the bus power supply for the CPU, and that's also shorted. Oh, it's not short. It's increasing. It's now 6, but it's short. It's getting low. So there's a short there. There's a short there. All right. So let me check on the RAM supply, main supply line. Dead short, as you can see. Let me remove the RAM. Dead short. See, that's shorted. 1.2 real. This is the main output, and it's right here. Dead short. So the CPU is dead. So we have to replace it. So I have the CPU. I have it used and I have it brand new. So I will just remove this glue from around the CPU. Shall we? And he didn't tell me that the CPU was shorted based on his observation and what he's expecting on the board. He didn't tell me. So I'm just going to remove this glue gently. Gently, 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 gently. It's now after 8. Alright, so I'm just going to remove the glue with my tweezer here. You don't want to go too deep because you can damage these traces here. Right. All right. Okay. So all the glue is now removed. So the glue is removed now, so I will now get to see if I can find a chip. Okay, so I found a new chip, CPU rather, and this is a same SR3S1 CPU, and I'm going to solder it. So first I'm going to remove the CPU. So I'm going to head over to the BJ machine. Alright, so I'm going to head over to the BJ machine. Alright, so for the desoldering process, so let's do this, shall we? Alright, so I'm aligning the board now. And then connecting it to the jig holder here. Alright, so I'm going to lock it in place now. There we go. So the board is locked. It's tight, can't move. So I will give power and start the machine, and then I will add some flux when the temperature is 100 degrees for the preheating part. Remember, so preheating the board is very important because you don't want the board to deform or warp. So the preheating step is very important. So I'll preheat the board for about 4 to 5 minutes, right, at 200 degrees, and then the top heater will do the rest of the work by desoldering the CPU. So I'm waiting for the preheater to reach 100 degrees and for the surface of the board to actually hit 100 degrees. Then I will add flux and then wait for the top heater here to do this magic. Alright, so I think I have the right nozzle. Right, so the right nozzle is on. And this is a HR BJ machine. You have seen me use it before in the other video. I'm repairing a desktop motherboard where I replace the PCH. So I'm now at 100 degrees. So I'm adding some flux now. Alright, so that is enough. That's sufficient amount of flux. You don't need any more right there. Now I'm up aligning the upper heater. That should be about 5 millimeters distance from the CPU. No more than 5 millimeters. So I will pause the video. When it reaches 220 degrees, I will resume, and then we'll do the desoldering, which is at the molten state of the solder balls at 220 to 235 degrees, and then I will do a chip lift. Okay, so I'm now at 220 degrees. So I'll now do a notch test to see if the chip is ready to be lifted by using a flat tool here, poking under, and it's not ready as yet. It's not ready. Alright, so I'm going. Remember, there's remains of the epoxy glue under the chip that I couldn't access, so I have to wait until the heat melts that epoxy so it is easily removed. Let me check again. Aha, so I'm now at 230 degrees and it's accurate. So this is my suction pen that I use to suck up the chip because I don't want to shift the components around the CPU. There we go. So the CPU is now lifted. I'm stopping the machine and I'm turning on the cooling fan there. So as you can see, the CPU is now removed. So I am going to let the board cool. Right, so I'm going to let the board cool down. And then I will get back to the next step. Okay, so CPU is now removed. Right, so it's now cool. So I'm going to check the resistances again. Very important after removing the CPU to see the results if all the resistance are restored to its original resistance or impedance. Alright, so here we go. All right, so this coil that was lifted, 1.0 volt standby, we get 499, whoa, 530. All right, 3 volts, okay, 5 volts, that's good. Right, RAM supply, excellent. Right, CPU core, excellent. Right, bias strip pin number 8, sorry, yes, that's pin number 4. Bias pin number 8 is 443, very good. 1.0 VCC ST, excellent. Right, and 5 volts, 3.3 volts, sorry, that's okay. And charging section, excellent. So all the coils are restored back to a normal impedance. When the CPU is soldered back to the board, the resistance will change slightly. So I'm going to solder back this coil, and I'm going to clear the pads and then get the chip ready to be soldered. Alright, so I'm just going to add some flux here to solder back this coil. Alright, so I'm just soldering back that coil now, as you can see there. Alright, so I'm going to clear the pads now for the CPU. So as you can see, I'm now adding flux to the pads there. And I will use the bumping method again to clear the pads. Right, so this is called the bumping method. This is normally from the factory. Whenever you notice that you have a board and there's an empty chip there, like a graphics card or a RAM, you can see that the pads are tinned with solder, and it feels a bit rough. That's called the bumping method. This method is used for BGA, so the balls can easily grab the pads and solder the chip evenly. So this is why I use the bumping method. Alright, so I'm just going over all the pads, making sure that all the pads are bumped and having tint with solder. There we go. This is the bumping method that I use over the years. Alright, so I will now clean with 99.9. Okay, so I'm feeling now with my fingers, and it's feeling smooth and flat. I'm not feeling any extra bumps. So that's how I know when it's fully processed and all the pads are on the same level. So this is a catch behind this. You have to make sure that all pads are on the same level. All right, so I'm not feeling any bumps. All are on one level. All right, so I'm just finalizing the cleaning. Okay, so I will now add flux to the pads now for soldering. Alright, so I'm making sure that I'm evenly distributing the flux on the pads. There we go. So all the pads are evenly distributed with flux. And now we're going to add flux to the pads on the CPU as well. All right. And I will add my Kapton tape to the heat spreader, or the integrated heat spreader, or I can call it the core, for thermal shock protection. Alright, so I'm going to head over back to the BJ machine now. Aligning the board. Alright, so the board is now aligned. And I'm now going to align the CPU from pin 1 to pin 1 to pin 1 on the board. Alright, so just making sure that the chip is in the dead center of the guidelines. Alright, need to come over to the right some more, just a little nudge. It doesn't have to be perfectly placed because the surface tension will grab the balls when it reaches melting state. All right, just one more inspection. All right, that's good. That's good. All Alright, so everything is okay now. And I will start the machine, and I will get back to you again when the temperature reaches its soldering state, which is roughly 220 degrees again. I think this is leaded solder balls, I'm not sure. I bought them with balls, so they're already pre-reballed already. So I will see how it goes when it reaches 190 degrees. Okay, so at this time, as you can see, the CPU is starting to descend. The balls are getting shiny. Right? The chip is descending. Right? And the flux now starting to push out of the chip that I put under the CPU before I soldered it. And you can see the flux is now pushing out. That indicates that the chip is going to be soldering. So the chip has soldered, the chip has descended, the balls got shiny, and the chip is descended, so I can now stop the machine. As you can see, the flux is now pushing out. The flux is coming out, so that indicates that the CPU has been soldered. So I'm stopping the machine and cooling down the, and I remove the top heater. As you can see there. And I'm cooling down the board. So as the board cools, then I will resume. Okay, so the board is now cooled, as you can see. The board is now cooled. Alright, so I will now do the resistance check again, very important, before I put power to the board, and then to see the results that I get after soldering this CPU. Okay. Alright, so first alright, so I'm going to check the coil that was lifted first, 1.1 volt, 1.0 volts, and I get 140 there. Alright, next I have 3 volts, 3.3 volts is okay, 5 volts, that's also okay. CPU core, that's good. As you can see, the resistance decreases because the CPU is now soldered, so the resistance will change. Right, bias chip pin number 8, excellent, I get 432. Okay, RAM supply 1.2 volts, I get 50. Okay, so the CPU is still warm. I get 53. All right, 1.0 volts, 1.8 volts, sorry. Sorry about that. 1.8 volts is good. And VCC ST 1.0 volts is also good. That's very good. All right, RAM supply, I get 60. All right, it's cooling. And if I put the RAM in it, I think the RAM slot is also tampered with. What the hell? Let's check the RAM. I get 65. Let me go under the microscope. I need to check if the RAM slot was tampered with. Yes, the RAM slot is also, what the hell? The RAM slot is also tampered with. Oh my God. I hope the RAM slot is intact. I hope the RAM slot is intact. As you can see, flux mark there. I'm just seeing this. The RAM slot was tampered with. Let me see the inside of the slot. On the next side. Yes, he tampered with the slot. So I'm going to clean it to inspect it properly. I don't know why this, the RAM slot was tampered with. The RAM slot has nothing to do with this problem on the board. Alright, so the RAM slot is now cleaned. And it seems pretty alright. Alright, so I'm gonna plug power to the board. Alright, so I'm connecting the power switch. And I will give power now. Let's see what happens. I get white light. I'm gonna press the switch. And I get 100 milliamp, 111 milliamp there. And it's stuck. That's a stock current. I'm gonna check all the power supplies. So I'm checking the CPU graphics core. This is a CPU core. No voltage there. Oh, it's off. It's off. Let me power again. I get 1.0 volts for the CPU core. 1.2 volts. 1.0 volts, sorry. 1.2 volts. 1.8. This should be 1.2 volts. Yes, 1.2 volts is okay. 1.8 volts is okay. 1.0 volts is okay. 3.3 volts is okay. 1.2 volts there. Alright, this is for the RAM supply. This is the CPU standby secondary supply. Sorry, it was my mistake. This is RAM supply 1.2. As I said before, this voltage can be adjustable from 1.0 to up to 1.8 volts. This is 5 volts. Excellent. Right, so I'm getting all supplies. Bias strip pin number 8, 3.3 volts. Very good. So I will try another RAM. Right. Alright, so press the switch. Aha! It's now 160 milliamp. The current increased. Alright, 140 milliamp. 170 milliamp. 130. And it should power off. Once it powers off and powers on, then the RTC circuit is going to be reset. It's not powering off. Let me see if I'm getting... It should powers off. So something is not right. Let me connect the keyboard. And I'm not getting a caps lock, so it's not displaying. It's not, so since I plugged in the keyboard, the current goes to 130 milliamp, so it's not displaying anything there. Let me inspect the RAM slot again. Just looking inside of the RAM slot with my naked eyes. And just gonna clean inside of the RAM slot. Because the RAM slot was tampered with. So I'm just making sure that the RAM slot is intact. Ah, God, this is a very, I see, let me go under the microscope for more inspection. Just to check if I'm seeing any grounds, any solder that is touching the legs. All good. What's this right here? Oh, it's a piece of lint. Okay. Oh boy. This one is giving me a lot of work because it's a second-hand repair. All right, so I give power. I have lights. So I get 160 milliamp. It should goes up to 120 milliamp. 200 milliamp, I believe. 170 milliamp. 110 milliamp there. And that's it. Let me pause. I'm going to do some, he also flashed the BIOS. So I'll have to check the BIOS section as well. Let me try another RAM, one more RAM first before. All right, it's one same current pattern as you can see. 170 milliamp and then it goes back to 112 milliamp thereabout. This RAM doesn't work. So the RAM is not passing. As you can notice that each time I put a RAM inside, the current fluctuates. So that RAM is not passing. All right, trying again. $170 milliamp, 130, and it's not turning off. So I will flash a clear ME firmware inside of this BIOS and get back to you. Okay, so I've now removed the BIOS chip. So I will program the BIOS. And I will search for the board number. So that's DA, turn on my caps lock. So that's DA0, right? P9 CMB. Let me pause because it's loading. Okay, so now I will now program the EC, hit right, and it's now erasing. All right, so it's now writing, and then verify, and then I will sort about the chip and see what I get. All right, so it's now verifying. All right, so it's completed. Now solder back the CPU, the BIOS chip back to the board. All right, so let me go under the microscope for this. All right. All right, so I give power. All right, so I got the lights. Press the switch. Oh, there's no RAM in it, sorry. Press, okay, give power. Pressing the switch. All right, 190 milliamp. $190 milliamp, and it's 200. See, I went to 200 a while ago. All right, 200. Oh, so it's not fluctuating as how I wanted it. try the other RAM again. All right, so I tried another RAM again. This is another RAM that I took from another laptop, so I'm going to try it again. All right, so I get 100. Oh, it's 80, 70. All right, it powers off. Should it turn on back again? Ah, it's on again. But the current is still small. Still too small. I'm not getting a caps lock. Turns off. It's on again. 130. Oh, we have caps lock. Ah, ha 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 ha. There we go. As you can see, I have caps lock there. Look at that beautiful light. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's the Northridge laughs when you find a short on a board and it's easy. And that's called the Northridge laugh. Alright, and I got caps lock. So, I think that's ready, isn't it? So I will now put the board into the case and connect the screen to it and see what I get. Alright, now connecting the switch back into the chassis there and mounting back the screws. Alright, that's done. Alright, connecting the LCD. Alright, that's done. And the trackpad. And the hinge. I'll now connect back the DC jack. And the other hinge is here on the right, well, my right. And the heatsink. and the Wi-Fi. Oh, he didn't give me a screw for the Wi-Fi. Okay. All right, so connecting the audio. All right, making sure that board is surface here is clean. All right, so let's test it. Shall we? Ready? Here we go. All right, so I give power. All right, so it's on. Current is, as you can see, it's plugged to it. All right, it's powered off. So now we'll power it on again. Ah, and we have picture. We have display. So I press the enter key. And we should see the HP logo now. What? No drive is not detected. Boot device not found. That indicates to me that the eMMC drive is having a problem also. So I have to charge him more for that one to replace the eMMC. But the display is there and it is powering. So that is what the main focus of the video is. Not on this repair to repair the SSD drive or the eMMC drive. Alright, so I hope you learned something. Right, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Right, so I've done it again. As you can see, the Chipmaster did it again. A second-hand repair, a tough one. Gave me a lot of trouble to get that one up. Anyway, so hope you like and subscribe and leave comments below about this particular video repair and tell me what you think about this repair. All right, so I'm going to get ready for the staff to come to work and get the place ready, and have a good day. And as I said before, in the next video I will definitely repair something for you again. Okay, bye.